Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Ballroom Chat. I'm your host, Samantha, with Love.Live.Dance. And today I am joined by Cesar Rojas. He is a Latin dancer, we'll say. And we are going to be learning all about Casino Rueda and kind of its history, its style, and its prevalence now in the US. So I am looking forward to learning along with you guys this morning. So thank you so much, Cesar, for joining us.
A pleasure. Thank you, Samantha, for having me today.
So I like to ask all of my guests when we first get started, how in the world did you get into the wild world of the dance industry? So what's your personal history with it?
Okay, so when I moved to the States back in 2017, I went to grad school in Boise, Idaho, and it was my first time living by myself, first time living in a different country. So I was trying to find a place where I could fit. So I went to a random meetup group event where I met someone, and that someone told me, "Hey, there is a salsa event this Saturday at this event. Want to go?" Oh, sure, let's go. Let's go check it out. So it was different to what I used to experience at home. Um, from there, we got some information of other events and classes, so we went to check another one out. And after a couple of events, here comes the funny story. I met this young lady that I liked. So I was just trying to to get to know her or like see her again. So she kept telling me she was gonna go next time, and the next time came, and then the other next time came, and so and so. To sum it up, I kept in touch with her, but she never came back to another event. But just that little next time kept me going. I kept taking classes. I Down the road I started hosting events and then to DJ and everything else. So it's a little of a like a funny story, but I mean that's how come how I got involved to the scene or then the industry as it is.
That's
So
awesome.
it was yeah.
So had you danced at all prior to coming to Boise, or was that your first salsa experience?
Well, that was my first sales experience. Before that, I wasn't like involved into dance at all. I was more into like hard rock music, like listening to Aerosmith, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, and all that stuff. And I wasn't used to these like soft rhythms. So after exploring a few other things, I started taking classes. Then I found this Rueda de Casino group. To Unfortunately, I missed the cut of the first class for 2 weeks, so I had to wait 6 months for the next group to open.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, okay, go fast, go fast. When I got there, I mean, it it I it was easy for me in the sense that in the rueda, which translates into well, it's a circle. There is one person making all the commands, which is the caller or the director of the rueda. So it takes away from you that you are completely new that weight of okay, my mental process is like, well, I have to combine this move with this other move, the timing and everything else. So there was someone else doing that for me, and until I get used to synchronizing my legs and everything else, I could keep participating and like and learning how to dance. So which was one of the first things that got me hooked into it. So back in Peru, the idea of like taking dance lessons is not common. Most of the dancing people do is learn like very casually, like at parties, or you have a friend that knows some moves and they teach you. And yeah, so it's a completely different approach to what it's here. So once I got started into these dance lessons, and I dig more into that, I so that there were other styles, and each style has its techniques, its theory and history. The more than just say I'm Latino, I have it in my blood, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that's a little of I mean how things went.
Very cool. So you said you're originally from Peru.
Mhm. Yeah, in Peru, salsa, like the say the traditional salsa for Latinos, usually was like very big on the 80s, 90s. Then it turned more into like a cumbia reggaeton kind of emphasis.
Mm.
So sometimes you will see people dancing salsa, but they have some cumbia steps or the little bumpy that cumbia has. It's just how it is there, and yeah, it's different.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Being a ballroom girl, when it comes to and from a ballroom mindset, we kind of lump everything into these like subcategories. So for Latin social dancing, which is almost saying that salsa is not competitive, which it absolutely is. Within the ballroom umbrella, we kind of just shove it over to the side and we're like, yeah, it's one of those things that we do at parties. My knowledge is I can do salsa. I've competed in mambo. I do a little bit of bachata, a little bit of merengue. You had me try Casino Rueda once. So I can say that I've done it once. But when it gets into the reggaeton or the cumbia, I'm just like, I have not experienced it. I have the same glazed over look that I give people when they start talking about Texas two step and triple two in the country scene. It's like I don't know.
Yeah, it's two totally different worlds. Like when I when I first started, I found this instructor there that was mainly a ballroom dancer, and we are trying to promote their business and have people show up. I mean people don't move like that where I'm from. And I really don't want to move like that. So it doesn't appeal to me. There's people that like it. It just comes to like down to a personal preference. And each style has its supporters. So and other groups have their detractors, and it's just the way it is for everything.
Definitely.
So
The dance world is big enough that you can find the style that speaks to you and is authentic to your experience and that resonates with some part of you. So yeah, absolutely. Let's get into what Casino Rueda is. So you mentioned that Rueda essentially refers to it being in a circular style. Um, I kind of refer to it as it's like salsa in a circle meets square dance because you have somebody that's calling out the patterns and then you're rotating through. But what's the history behind it? What is it for those of us that know very little about it?
okay, so let's go travel in time back to the 50s and let's go to Cuba. Um, Cuba has some of the traditional dances. It had like danzón, son cubano, and which later on became casino. But back in those days, before the revolution, they had these social clubs, which were more like a judge clubs. So you had like these particular clubs for like um, parts of society will go. Like let's put it in these terms. Like there was a club only for white people. There is another club for white, like black people, and then there was a blend of both at some point. They will just get together to have some drinks, enjoy the ocean or dance or whatever. So there was this particular uh, club called Casino. The name at the time was Casino Deportivo de La Habana. So people will just go there. They will start dancing danzons, son, cha cha cha. I think at that time they also had mambo and a few other things. Even rock and roll was starting to take off at that point. So they started to mix or blend steps. Like sometimes it happens. Like you start once you feel comfortable enough with a dance rhythm, you can start adding some elements from other dances and make your own blend. So let's say there were two couples dancing son next to each other, and then one just say, "Hey, dámela," like give her to me, and they will switch partners. And then just to make it more fun, someone say, "Enchúflala y dile que no." So they will do the move, and they will switch partners again. And then from that, it started adding more couples, 3, 4, 5, and then they will have this person on the side or inside the circle making all these calls, and people will start repeating them. So it was entertaining. It was dynamic, and people start to referring to it the dance from the casino, referring to the Casino Deportivo de La Habana. But since it's way too long, okay, they just shorten it to casino. And then in Central America, people tend to shorten words. Instead of saying rueda del casino, probably someone got la rueda de cajeno. So they wouldn't pronounce the L and they just start with rueda de casino. So people just, hey, let's go to the let's go to the dance of the casino, referring to that particular dance, and then it went viral like that. So in the little well, there is a lot of like theories, as in anything. Some people debate if it first was the egg or the chicken, and this eternal debate. The same happens with dances. So some people say that from danzón it evolved to son cubano, and from son cubano it evolved to casino, and then from casino it went to the rueda, with all the variations that come in the way. So casino is basically an evolution of those dances, and then as time went by, it took an identity of its own. So if you go to Cuba, or I haven't been, but that's what I heard of others, is like people, they don't dance salsa, they dance casino or son. Then it comes this other debate of what is salsa. So if you look interviews about history of salsa, the origin of salsa, you can hear Tito Puente and Celia Cruz and all people like those big names from back in the day that are no longer with us anymore. They say that when the term salsa came out, it was just as a marketing name. It was simpler to see. It was somehow one of the versions that I had is that there was this record label. They will have this huge vinyl, and this company was tomato paste company, and the name that they had was Salsa. They had a vinyl, and there was a salsa thing there. And then when people refer to it, okay, what kind of music is this? And then it's not son, it's not casino, it's not danzón, it's not cha-cha-cha. What is it? And then I'm assuming that they just to simplify things, they said, okay, it's salsa music because of the little square. When that's one of the theories. Then when Tito Puente was asking an interview, he used to refer that the same thing that they were playing with the Sonora Matancera is the same thing they were playing today. It's just not that people call it salsa. Just to add more to that debate, he was the only salsa or sauce that I know is salsa, like tomato salsa or Goya salsa, and just something you put in food to make it more flavorful. So it's there's a lot of interconnecting paths, and people develop their own like theories, and it's just part of evolution. It's hard to put just one square. Okay, this is what it is. So yeah, it's as of today, it's easier to say it's Cuban salsa than rather to go to all the story of, okay, this is the Casino Deportivo de La Habana, this is the casino, then we came into the Rueda de Casino. Okay, it's salsa. It's simpler that way.
Yeah. I have a feeling that that's also just a matter of time. When you look again into the ballroom frame of mind, we have the Viennese waltz that dates back hundreds of years at this point. So the history has been written and rewritten and dialed down over that length of time. So when you're dealing with something that's coming out of the 1930s, 40s, 50s, we're still in a relatively new time. So it will be a while before that history is kind of refined and distilled and truncated, so to speak. Um, you mentioned a couple of dance styles that, since we have a majority of ballroom listeners for this podcast, I just want to clarify a little bit because they were new to me or relatively new to me. Dance on and on.
No, son, like
Son.
SON. Yeah.
Son. All right, what are they?
Um, well, it's their partner dances. I mean, it's like going back on time, and I could be wrong in this. If I try to associate it with something else, it's like going um, from one dance that you have, and then go to its ancestor, and then to its predecessor. It's something like that. I'm trying to think something in ballroom. Let's see. Let's say like you have West Coast, and then before that you have Lindy Hop, and then before that you have, let's say, mm, uh, well, the one before that, that came before that, something like that. So it's just an evolution of that kind of thing. It has
Okay.
similar similar steps, similar foundation, but it has its own identity by now.
So I was going to say, so is that if you went into a social dance or a club, would that be something that you would see folks dancing, or would it just look like salsa, cumbia, bachata, merengue at this point?
Um, I would say that, like in the way things are right now with globalization and everything else, if you go to a club, you will find like a music from like current Cuban music, which is referred as timba, or like timba / Cuban salsa, which is different to the traditional salsa that you will hear with the orchestra, um, and with a, let's say, a New York salsa with like, let's say, Funny All Stars. It's a very orchestrated kind of music with it's different. And then the timba or the Cuban salsa has more of this Afro and like urban sounds. So if you go to a club, you would see people dancing like people dance nowadays. If you get outside of a club and you go to certain parts of the island, you will see people doing demonstrations of that on the streets, or like in any like neighborhood party. Um, it's How do you differentiate that? Is because you can tell by the style that well, let's say, if you use the terms, the styling, it looks more old school.
Okay.
Yeah, so it looks more, the steps are simpler. The styling is more old school, and there is less complexity, so people could be doing just a couple of steps and be fine.
Gotcha, gotcha. So, I guess it would be similar to if listeners or viewers go back and watch like the 1950s or 1960s waltz and foxtrot competitions from international, where you're in a very social hold. There's not a lot of tricks. There's not a lot of shaping. There's not a lot of athletics to it. It's just dancing. So kind of similar, that like this is where it started, and then we've developed it into more extreme fashions on either end as a result from it.
Just with the side note, it's just a social dance. Then up to now, there is a Rueda championship in Europe. I think it's in Germany. People from all the world go there and then the competition stuff. But if, it just takes a social dance and makes it more complex, more technical. It's cool to see. It's nice to see. And I also forget to mention this right before. Um, it limits the the participation you could have for newcomers. So it's cool to see. At least that was my case when I saw these people doing all this flashy salsa mambo thing, and I was like, hey, that's cool, but I mean, I can do that. I mean, I don't have that speed.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with you. Even as a professional dancer that's been dancing for a decade more now, I am terrified when a salsa dancer asks me to salsa dance on a social floor, because I'm like, I can do one, two, three, five, six, seven. I can do that in my space. I can do some turns. I can do like a crossbody lead. But if you have me do a hammer lock to a figure eight to a double spin to an around the back to like an overhead hair curl, I'm like, I don't know. And I'm terrified that you're going to rip my arm out of my shoulder. So please help me.
Yeah, it increases the complexity. I mean, some people can do it, and I've seen people locally that win trophies and everything, and they get all their fancy customs and shoes. I mean, great. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, but for the average Joe, I mean, I mean, not everyone can move their feet at the speed of light.
Yeah, it can definitely be overwhelming for newcomers. And that's something that I wanted to talk about specifically with the Rueda style. We work and teach out of the same dance studio. And before the pandemic hit, I had just finished up with lessons for the night. And here you come around the corner. You're like, hey, I need you for one dance. Can I get you for one dance? I'm like, sure, thinking that you were going to be explaining the calls and explaining how to do everything. And little did I know I was just going to get pulled into, like, the music was already going, people were already moving, calls were already in play. But from someone who had no knowledge going into it, it was very user friendly. It was one of those, if you can trust your partner, all of them, because you go through many over the course of a dance, and you know, at least in my case, like a basic salsa or a basic mambo just adapted to dance on the one, you can survive your first rueda without much difficulty.
Yeah, and that's something I also forgot to mention at the beginning. So since there is someone doing all these mental processes and giving all the commands, you just have to follow. But this, what I do is that I keep an eye of how everyone is doing. And if someone is struggling, I repeat the same move two, three, four times until they get it, and then I move to the next one. Also, something else that dragged my attention is that for someone that is complete newcomer and someone that is a little shy, I mean, probably the most terrifying moment for any male dancer or anyone in particular that is when you make your way all across the dance floor to ask someone to dance, and they say no. They just like that's one of the terrifying moments we have.
Mm-hmm.
So in Rueda, you're dancing with everyone. Um, Even though we can go in, I mean, you can build some kind of connection with the other person. Okay, I mean this, and then when the Rueda finishes and everyone's okay, this was fun, this was entertaining. Okay, let's do another one. Probably you don't want to do a Rueda, but probably you can like enjoy a dance with someone that you like you share the Rueda with and say, like, socially, just in partner dancing. So it helps to create community a community of people without that pressure of okay, this is just me and the other person dancing together, and let's see if we like I don't get my arm grip, or they try to do a body roll and they injure my neck, and or all those complex things. I mean, there's people that do it and they are great at it. I mean, uh, my respect to them. And my approach is more just to like giving a space for everyone to come try something that probably they felt intimidated before. Not necessarily they have to stick and do rueda, but maybe they came to an event that we do, and then they see bachata, and then there's people that do bachata, teach bachata, and they go there and they stick there. Or probably they come to an event that we do, and they go to and sometimes I did like mixed events where I play ballroom swing and like in salsa. Someone came for salsa. They saw that it was the first time ever they saw swing dance, and then they ended up taking swing lessons. So it's I see it as an opening a door for anyone just to come check it out. And then if they like it, if they want to stay, great. But if they sell something that they like in a different group, okay, go for it. Maybe someone from that group is the same way they come for swing and then they stick with red or anything else. Um, it's easy to follow because I mean it keeps on the repetitive pattern. But then once the complexity level increases, that's when when the circle gets smaller.
Yeah.
Because then you have to be on the right timing to follow to the tempo, the beat, so you can proceed with the next figure and so on. So it can get complex, but it's still fun. And if we make a mistake, I mean, no one is gonna like looking at you, pointing at you. Oh, shame on you. We just laugh because I mean it's part of the fun of what we're doing. So it's very user friendly and no judgment. I mean, if you, I have videos of myself when I from my first Reda, and I was like, whoa, a lot has changed. And when I meet people, okay, man, I have never danced before, and I'm super intimidated that people will make fun of me. Okay, look at this. You see the guy? Okay, thank you. I want to give it a try. So.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and when all of this comes down and you guys are back and doing practices more often, I might stick my head in from time to time because it is a great way to meet people. It's a great way if you are new in a city or if you have never danced before and you're looking for a way to kind of enter into the dance community. It's a great way to meet a lot of people in a short amount of time and kind of build your own dance family very quickly with that group. And then, like you said, just being in that world then gives you opportunities to explore other dance styles and see, okay, am I happy here? Do I want to play with swing? Do I want to play with ballroom? Do I want to play with salsa and bachata? It gives you an open doorway to move within the community, which is very helpful, I think. Yeah. Um, if we have any questions from the chat, please by all means pop them in. We'd love to have you participate. That's the benefit of doing this live. I want to talk a little bit about just kind of where you see this moving forward, either specifically to what you're doing with Cubania in Salt Lake City, or just general trends that you're seeing in the US or internationally as far as like where you think the future of the Rueda style will go?
Well, the generally speaking, in country-wise, you have the people that dance salsa on one, or people call it the LA style for the ones that are not familiar with the terms. They were not for me. I thought it was only one kind of salsa. Then you have the on two salsa, which is New York style or on two.
Which we're going to circle
Slash.
back to here in a little bit.
Yeah. So what I see, at least from all these groups on Facebook or memes page that sometimes I jump into to just to see how people express about it. It's there is always this sense of performance competition, who's better, which is fine. I mean, if you want to like get on top of the line and invest in your training education, get your gear, take privates, up like paying up to $150 an hour for a private lesson just because you want to improve your level, it's great. There's congresses and festivals for that, but people go and they are packed. Um, but it's a personal preference that I mean people like. There is also congresses for Rueda. The biggest festival congress is in San Francisco, and it happens early in the year. Right before the pandemic hit, they had a festival. They brought a Elito Rueda and Charangon from Cuba. So they have that plus that they bring an actual Cuban band to play for them, and everybody's having a blast. So a lot of people critique Reda because it's for them it's too simple. There's no complexity. There is no shine, or there is no whatever they want to say. They don't like it.
Yeah.
It's fine. Um, to each their own, they say. So other people they do enjoy it. I mean, you cannot do Red all night. Just to be honest, you can do 3, probably 4, as much as 5 in a night, and then you're good.
Mm-hmm.
Then you do your other styles. Um, I see it as a way to it will take time to grow little by little. When I moved to Utah, there was nothing. I mean, there was no Cuban group at all. Everything was like bachata, salsa, and that was it. So the way I see this progressing is that if we keep promoting and get traction and attention to it, it will eventually start growing.
Mhm.
Because I mean, um, the challenge that I see with the other styles that are highly competitive is that it limits the audience. You have to have a certain profile and certain skills to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Some people try to take shortcuts, and this is my personal opinion. They try to take shortcuts. They avoid the private lessons. They see a bunch of YouTube videos, and then you see a bunch of injuries. And but then they have all the gear and everything else. But I mean, you're trying to replicate something that you have seen, but you don't have the proper training. Um, by limiting this, I mean you have a lot of people that could have potential, but you just leave them out because okay, you don't meet the criteria. There's people out there that probably they don't meet the criteria right now, but if you give them a chance, they could probably evolve into a higher level if you give them a chance. So there are a lot of complexities on the way. One, I mean, for me at the beginning, it was I mean, at the time where I live, like a private lesson was $75 an hour, which is I think the standard.
Mhm.
But for me, back in 2013 as a student, it was a 14.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, just talk about how. Then when I found my Casino Rueda group, they were charging like $50 a month because this was more affordable, and then they got me into it. Um, so as if we keep an open door, it will start growing again. I mean, we have to reformulate everything now with the pandemic. I mean, I cannot longer attempt to do an event with 400 people because it will be like nuts right now.
Yeah.
So after we reformulate everything and we see, okay, this is safe to do in these numbers in this location and with these guidelines of safety. Okay, we can start promoting again. We can do a social dance. I was actually going to host an event at one of the really nice um, bar slash restaurant slash clubs in downtown in
Mhm.
front of the Salt Palace, but unfortunately it didn't happen because everything got shut down. So as long as there is someone promoting something, it will grow, it will flourish, but it requires a lot of community engagement. Finding the people that are into that same boat of community engagement, it's hard. But once you find them, they are committed to it, they support you, and then it's like a network,
Mhm.
like a domino effect. Um, I
Well,
see.
I,
Sorry.
I was just going to jump in and say I feel like you have kind of a double-edged sword when it comes to this particular dance style, which is you can't do it on your own, right? The entire point of it is this sense of community and the sense of mixing partners and working together as a group to create this awesome experience. So, especially with the pandemic, you're limited by, well, we need to be safe for everybody. But when it grows and when you have that community, I feel like the question would then become, okay, do we keep this as a social, fun community stepping stone for you to learn other dance styles and build this as a fun kind of hobby experience, or do we move it into that social or that competitive realm where we're doing more of the formation team? But if we move to competitive, then we're telling people that it's exclusive only if you want to do the athletic competitive thing. So then you lose the social base that got you there in the beginning.
Um, I saw an example of that in Oregon, which is where one of my upline. I mean, the instructor of my instructor is from there. And even though they have their formation team that perform at the festival, which is I mean the highest of the levels, I was surprised to see people from all ages. I even saw a lady probably on her 60s, and then and the group was so mixed and diverse, and then everybody was able to catch up. That it was okay. There's even though if we take this to a performance level, everybody has a chance to participate because you get to a point in which you are that you develop skills after taking your classes and practices and everything else that you can manage to do it. So I mean, not in my mind, I would expect to see like someone in their 60s like doing a performance with with a group of young people. When usually the misconception we have is someone that is 60 plus. I mean, they have to take care of their grandchildren and stay at home, or go to their senior center and play golf if that's a choice. But I mean, this gives you a chance to even step in. Like personally, if we didn't have the pandemic, I would have just keep like doing the events and classes until we were starting. I mean, me and the other groups, because there were quite a few groups that already started last year. We were all starting to take off, like growing, but then it happened. So
Yeah.
we were already talking between the group that we have to start going to like the congresses, like building connections from the other groups. So we had people from out of state and from even from Europe that came through Salt Lake that reaching out to us just to come to meet us. So it's good to have a reference. Okay, Rueda in Utah. Okay, let's go check it out. So it's nice to have that to be like a point of reference. And okay, there's other casineros that come from other places and they have a place to be. Um, yeah, I mean it's the this was the this is a what if scenario. So I would say that probably we'll be looking into just like having a performers team. Everybody has a chance to participate, but they have to first clear level 1, level 2, level 3, have a certain amount of practices, and when they are, let's say, if we put it in technical, when they have polished up their stuff and I see no potential injuries, okay, jump in.
I like that. I like that. And you're creating a system that hopefully will build on itself, right? If you have a really large base in group 1 and then you take a smaller base to group 2, group 1 can still continue, can still recruit, and then it filters up and it builds on itself in a way that is sustainable. Because I feel like at least in the ballroom community, what I've seen unfortunately happen at studios is you have 20 people in group 1, and then you move all 20 onto group 2, but you don't backfill group 1. So you just have this one group that goes all the way through your different levels to eventually, hopefully, performance, but you aren't creating a system that continues to bring in new people to the community. So I think this style of dance specifically is kind of built on a more sustainable path.
Yeah, I there were a couple of times that I was not able to make it to practice, or I mean some personal circumstances that happened, but I had someone that was able to do the same thing that I was doing. So that's a cool thing. I mean, even sometimes I joke with them. Okay, in the case that I had to move somewhere else and move out of states, I mean, you guys can continue on your own. No, you can't go anywhere. Okay, I'm just saying. So that's like the cool thing. I mean, once like you say, in this kind of like a system that it has been developed, even if like the color or the lead of the group is not there, the rueda can continue because everybody knows the same stuff. Um, if they can dance, they can little by little out the calls. I mean, the hardest part of everything is to synchronize your body with your head and start making calls as you move. So
Yeah.
that's the hardest part. But once they get it, I mean, they can continue on their own. And wherever they go, and that's a cool thing, wherever they go and they find a group of casineros or rueda, they can jump in without issues because the moves, at least the ones that I try to share with them, are standard. Speaking of, there are standard moves that everybody has, and then each city or each group has its particular add-on or version of it, but the base is the same. So everywhere you go, you're fine.
That's awesome. Do you see a future where there is a standardized syllabus where someone actually writes down, or does that exist already?
There's two. One is there's one in Norway, in Europe. By the way, if you ever go to Europe, Rueda that is like huge. Like there is a Rueda everywhere. It's one of the main areas in the world where there is Rueda everywhere. So there is a group called Salsa Nor, like Norway, so Salsa Nor, and they uh, develop these kind of silos by levels. So they have their channel when they switch to like what's the name of this on demand platform. They have to pay now to watch the videos, but it's there. They teach you the move, they show you how it looks like, and then it's your foundation. That's in the Europe side. In the there's a guy from Cuba. His name is Joel Marrero. He created his own system or syllabus called MCC, which translates into which Método Cuadrado del Casino, which is like the square method of casino. It's more traditional, like the way it used to be, but he refers itself as like more polished. So it's a system that he developed. There, it's gaining popularity in some places. It looks different to the other casinos because the casino usually people would do is like the lead step back in his method, the lead step forward, but with I mean they don't step back at all.
Mm.
So it exists. So I try to like take okay, this is what we have around. I this is what you can use, and these are some variations. So in this little explanation takes us back to the beginning. With
Yes.
song, it evolved into casino, and then from casino, it evolved in everything else. So each places, or as time goes, it adds its particularities, its preferences. So it just keeps evolving. It's hard to say, okay, this is the right way. It's just how people interpret it and how they share it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you were saying, that circles beautifully back around to where we started, which is this is still developing. It's still in the history of the world, it's still a new dance. So where it ends up in 20 years and 50 years, we'll just wait and see. Um, I do want to talk about just because this is a frustration of mine and a question of mine that I have gotten many different answers to. So while I've got you here, um, what is the difference between on one salsa and on two salsa? How do you let me rephrase that. Let me rephrase that so that it's not as controversial, hopefully. How do you count on to salsa at a very base level?
Okay, so this was one of my struggles too, because when I live in Boise, people just refer it to salsa. So this was just one thing, and I didn't knew that there was salsa on one. So when you have the claves, you go like. Uh, so in that space, after the counts, is where usually we had to train our ears to say, okay, this is the one.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't teach it. People just start, hey, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Now repeat, okay, it counts, step, forward, back, okay, good. But nobody teaches you the claves or how you have to associate the sound with your steps. So once you find that and you can do your step on one, and that's one of the main things that I try to promote in my group. I don't care if you know 100 moves, but if you're off time or you're not on the beat, it looks horrible.
Yes.
I'd rather take time for you to learn, but if your timing is good and you only know 3 moves, they will be great.
Yes.
Okay. So going back to the on two, when I move here and I see people doing on two, I was like, what do their feet move differently? I mean, why are they step? I mean, it looks cool, but why do they look different? So I struggled for that for like probably 2 years. And I moved here back in 2017. So by 2019, I was like, okay, man, I would like to try this out, but I have issues with the beat. So I found a video of I think his name is the Mambo King. I think his name is Eddie Torres,
Mm-hmm.
and he had a very like simple explanation with the congas. I cannot recall the sound, but he was like, hey, you hear the congas, and he plays the sounds.
Mm-hmm.
After you hear this percussion, this is when you step your when you break on two, and then you just reverse engineer your own one, so you adapt your steps to the to the conga beat,
Sure.
and then it kind of it. I mean, for me, it clicked that way. I don't have a sound at hand, otherwise I would show you. But
That's
it's
okay.
it's it's how it worked for me.
We did have a comment from the chat, which is the Zooms, because we have audio filtering on for the Zoom call. It cut out when you were doing the clave demonstration. If you go on YouTube or online and just search for clave percussion, you'll be able to find an example of that. So I guess my
There's one
question,
thing.
yeah,
There's two claves, clave 2-3 and clave 3-2. What is the science behind it? It After digging on research for that, it's just personal preference of the composer. Yeah, everything else is the same.
good to know. Good to know. So, I also would agree with you. I just learned salsa, and then I came to Utah and found myself in the middle of a debate. So if you are going into a salsa, we'll just use it broadly, class, the instructor typically counts it 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. If you are dancing on two, does that mean that the count then is 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, or have your quick slows changed? Because, and the reason why I asked this, you pointed out that the guy that most people referred to for on the two instruction is called the Mambo King. And in ballroom, we refer to breaking on the two in a quick slow pattern to fast music, mambo.
Okay, and this is something that I also would like to point out. It's just we have to see the ballroom as one universe,
Yes.
and we have Latin dance as a whole different universe.
Yeah.
It usually we try to like blend both and try to make associations. But if we try to ballroomize salsa or Latinize ballroom, that's the conflict, because even though they have similarities and things in common, until we get to a point, okay, this is its own thing, and
Mm-hmm.
it has it's a different code. We're gonna jump into issues like I tried Charleston once, or probably twice, and I was trying to make the association with, I mean, where's the beat? Where, I mean, well, like silly thinking, oh, where is the clave? And then,
Yeah, there's not a clave, but you're still doing the same action as salsa on the one. You're just doing some turnout with your feet as you do it.
yeah, so it's it's I mean, for me, I try to find the like the rhythm or the beat. I mean, even it doesn't have clave, there's like a dun, 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 and go from there. For what I recall from on two, I only took a class once. 2, 3, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, something like that. So there's the 1 and the 4 that is missing. I could be wrong. That's what I recall. You just have to switch. You just have to switch your foots, and then if you have never done salsa too, and you have only done just regular salsa, it will give your brain a hard time for a while until it clicks, because that's how your muscle memory has been built.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I feel a little bit more comfortable saying that salsa on two is just mambo. We're just calling it different. The music is just slightly different. The emphasis is different, but it's the same action, it's the same count. Still a quick slow, you're just breaking on two.
Yeah, yeah. If you guys like want to dig more into salsa too, go on YouTube and look for Eddie Torres. He's AKA the Mambo King. He's like the, even though he's on his um, late ages right now, he still performs and goes around. But he has a very simple way to share it and make it understandable without getting into science. Let's put it that way. So if you want to dig into it, he's a good source of information, and I mean, it never hurts to learn something new.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, Anything else that you wanted to share with folks? Again, because we have majority ballroom audience, anything from either the Rueda point of view, from a history of just Latin dancing, that you wanted to share with our listeners so that they are more educated? Because that's really what we're trying to do, is have a better level of understanding of everything.
So if I could tell something to like anyone in, I will just say is like Latin dance doesn't have to be intimidating. It's fun. You just have to find your right spot because not everybody has a similar approach. Um, if you like, once you find your group and you start to like have fun, because for me it's not getting technical into getting into arguments. So okay, I can do like 5 steps in 1 second versus you can only do 3 steps in 1 second, and all that stuff that people like to argue about all the time. The main point is that you have fun. If someone doesn't make you feel comfortable, and it makes you feel like a little intimidated after one dance because they try to get all flashy without understanding that it's probably the first time that you went to dance. um, what I always do is when I ask someone, okay, is this the first time you have come to social dance? Okay, if the person is the first time that they come, okay, I try to do something simple so that they can enjoy it, they can have fun, and they are willing to come back and again the next time, or probably take a class. So some people, they just get all flashy. They like to show off, and they don't understand probably the other person doesn't have the same skills. If that happens to you, it has happened to everyone. One of the first social dances that I went to, I mean, I was doing the best that I could, and the other person simply left in the middle of the song. It happens. It happens. Well, she's one of my best friends right now, but it happens.
Yeah.
So don't feel intimidated. If you went to one particular place and you didn't like it, check another one. If you probably did, like if you see people that dance the way that you like, go ask them where they learned and try to dig there, because that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is that you see this as an opportunity to like expand your network. Back in Boise, we had a group of people from 20 different countries. So whenever we had like a house party or a potluck, I mean, you had 20 different dishes from 20 different countries, which was really great. So ask questions, don't be intimidated. If you don't want to dance with someone because whatever reason, say no. No one is gonna force you to do anything. And if you're dancing with someone and they make you feel uncomfortable for whatever reason, you can say, okay, thank you, but I mean, we're done. We're good. Always um, see whatever works for you. And ultimately, there if we go to music more than just to dance, there's music for everyone. When I started, there was all this mambo kind of music with all the that's the xylophone and all these soft sounds that make me feel that I should be wearing a tuxedo with a bow tie and getting all flashy. But then when I discovered Cuban music, which was more like urban and more something that it's reminds me of home. Let's put it that way. I felt that was more appealing to me. You have the traditional salsa music, then you have the more like urban music, then you have salsa in English, because that's what I like to play. And then there is something for everyone. And one of the reasons that I point music is that when you connect with the song, and if the song is selling something that you associate that has happened to you, man, this is great. I mean, I feel it. And then once you feel it, you can move. People criticize, that's not real salsa. That's just and some abomination someone created, and they just put lyrics in English. Okay, but it's just your opinion. But I mean, the people that I play the music for, they like it. So try to find things that like if you really want to explore it, try to find something that will like fit for you, and then go from there. Probably it's not. We might not be salsa. Maybe you like bachata, and then now we have kizomba. If you don't like kizomba, maybe you land into souk.
Mm-hmm.
So there is something for everyone, and just give it a try.
I love that.
So yeah.
I think that's fantastic. And one thing that I just quickly wanted to follow up on, you mentioned that you're a DJ, that you actually are a DJ for some of these events. Um, are you finding? I mean, you kind of just mentioned it that most people are responding more positively to the pop European, like we're gonna put Justin Bieber singing over top of Despacito in English, kind of music. Are you seeing from a DJ perspective, if you put on a mix of those more like popular songs and then blend in some of the more traditional music, that keeps people on the floor? Or are you seeing that, like, no, as soon as something that has a more difficult beat to hear, people are pulling off the floor and waiting for something else to come back on?
Okay, so let me backtrack a little on the DJ part. So just to give someone a perspective, or maybe this could happen to me one day too. So when I was starting to learn to dance, I was okay. I took my classes, I learned the moves. Then the guy that was hosting the night had to be out of town. Hey, can you take care of the night? They were like, hey, are you sure? Yeah. I mean, you can do it. Just do this, and okay, fine. Then my personal taste differed a little from what he was playing, so I was like asking, hey, give me a chance to play and see how it goes. When he gave me a chance to play, I was able to share my personal preferences with the audience. Back in the day, I'm talking 2013, we didn't have DJ controllers. We
Mm.
didn't have like fancy flashy lights and speakers on these smoke machines. All we had was a laptop, an aux cable, and Windows Media Player with whatever audio files we could find. Nowadays, we have the DJ boards that are not cheap, by the way, and they are between $700 to $1,400, just and like mid-range ones. And all these complexities that only what they do is they improve the experience that we are trying to share. Now, when it comes to music, now we have, if you guys want to check it out, we have Tony Zucker. He recently won 2 Grammys last year for Best Salsa Album of the Year and Producer of the Year. He's the only Latino artist or producer that has the rights from the Michael Jackson family to redo all his songs into salsa.
Wow.
So if you want to explore or try to try it out, you can check it out. You can have like Billie Jean salsa, I Want You Back in salsa, and many more. Then you have DJs like DJ Soul Tricks and DJ Trunky that they took all these popular pop songs and they transferred it into bachata. So let me put it this way: it's always the debate between the purist and the other side. So I mean, the guy won 2 Grammys. The academia. I mean, it's like, I mean,
Yeah.
you're on top of your game. No, but that's not salsa. What is that? They don't know what they're doing. I mean, things change.
Hmm. Things do change.
So personally, what I try to do is I if I don't know the crowd, I test and see what works, and then until I reach like a midpoint, that's what I like put more. Like probably someone doesn't have finds bachata dominicana or like traditional bachata as they call it now too a little unusual, but then they hear the remix from one of these DJs, which of a song that they like, but with a beat. Okay, I like this. I mean, and they from that song they get to the traditional one, so it's a bridge.
Mm.
The same with the salsa in English. Let's say someone hears this Michael Jackson salsa song and they like it, and then over time they get to like Fanny All Stars or Tito Puente or Celia or any of these big names from back in the day. So it's I see it as a bridge. Personally, if you give it to them directly, probably first they don't have idea what they are listening to. But if you use that as a bridge and it's a starting point, they can get through there, explore on their own, and then get where they have to get on its own. So it's just a way to facilitate, open the door, put a bridge, and then boom, it
I,
takes them somewhere.
I think that's such a beautiful way to think about it. what, am I correct in thinking that it's probably been more than a couple of weeks, it's probably been several months at this point, that you had shared a story on Facebook about being at a Harley Davidson club and starting to play like bachata music or something?
So close to where I live, there's a club with a nice rooftop area. It looks like a motorbike club. So the guys with the leather, the headbands, the sunglasses, the vest, and the boots and the motorcycles. So the first floor was some sort of packed, and they had this jukebox machine where you just like from your phone you just purchase credits and play songs. So we went upstairs with some friends that came from out of town, and since we were the only ones upstairs, we started like buying songs, and so we could dance a little, no biggie. But then, let's say we play a salsa song, and then we saw on cue that there were like five country songs, and then it was like, okay, we paid extra just to like have our song play next, but then somehow got bumped by the other one. So it was like okay, mine goes next, mine goes next. It was fun. There were people that it was the first time ever they saw people dancing. And then this is the other approach that I have is just okay, that looks cool. Where can I learn? You open a door for them to check it out if they want to or not. Then we did something else, and people was like, I mean, I thought this was more complex as you only see on TVs. I mean, the only time I saw this was on like the what's the name of the show? And there was forgot the name. This dance show, Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, dancing. I was gonna say it's either So You Think You Could Dance or Dancing with the Stars.
I only saw this in Dancing with the Stars, and I thought it was way much complex. So you see, there is this huge gap of okay, this is way too complex. Okay, I can do this.
Mm.
So it always happens like that. So at the end of the night, I mean, some people they were clapping. Hey, that was awesome. Come again soon. And when we went downstairs, everyone like people were like, okay, so you guys were the ones playing salsa music.
Oh, because the jukeboxes were linked.
Yeah.
Oh, so downstairs was getting these random salsa songs without any context of what was. That's funny. That's really
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, so I mean that the way I see this is an invitational approach. Okay, this is something that the average Joe can do. You're more than welcome to come check it out if you want. Maybe you don't want to stick with us, but you can go to any of the other groups that do classes too, or other dance styles. But it's a bridge. So that's the way I see it. And I had students that ended up in a different group. I'm like, well, if that's what you like, cool. I mean, if you found something that you like, I mean, stick to it. I mean, it's easy. This is not a cult. I mean, I'm not a god that you have to stick with me for eternity. I mean, if you found something more appealing to you, I mean, that's great. I mean, that's what happened to me. Why would I tell you don't go there? I mean, you wanna go, go.
Yeah. I I would hope that anyone listening to this podcast would 100% agree with you on that. I feel like from a dance community perspective, we can only benefit if we open doors for everyone and bring everyone into the community, because dance is such a wonderful experience on a physical level, on a mental level, on an emotional level. It is so positive that why wouldn't we want people to be brought into the fold, regardless of what community they end up in. I know from time to time I will have a younger couple come in and we'll do a couple of lessons and they're like, oh, I'm going to the Dominican Republic in 2 weeks time. Or an older couple and like, oh, I'm going on a cruise. I'm like, well, we should probably talk about salsa then, because that's the music you're going to hear. And I'll take them through a couple basic steps. And if they're loving it at the end, it's like, all right, great. I have 4 business cards of people that are much better equipped to take you on your next journey in salsa. Please reach out to them. Please continue, because I mean, I know my limitations as an instructor when it comes to the Latin social styles. I'm not going to tell someone that I can dance cumbia when I've never seen it or danced it myself. So if that's something that I can tell that students are interested in, I want them to go and explore it and continue dancing. Or if somebody comes in and we start doing East Coast swing and they're like, you know what, I'd rather do West Coast, or I'd rather do Lindy. Okay, great. I've got instructors that you really need to meet and continue with. So I would hope that students are getting the same information and the same options regardless of what community they start in.
Yeah, that should be that's a community approach, and that's like whenever I had a chance to do like events like the ones I did in Provo, we were able to blend different groups. I mean, we share what we have. These were free events, and from there, I mean, each group had like new students or attendants, or probably some people didn't even knew there was a swing night in Provo, and they were looking for one. So by sharing and cooperating, it's the only way a community as it is can grow. Because I mean, we have different experiences, we have different backgrounds, and we have something to add or to share. The issue is when it becomes controlling and it's like a monopoly. I don't know if that applies in English. In Spanish, it's monopolio. They went from like monopolize everything. That's another scenario that it could work as a business, because I mean businesses are created just like to make a profit, but it living aside the community as a whole, because even though there are different businesses as a whole, we are part of a bigger community. We face certain limitations and issues along the way. So we'll see what happens with the pandemic. I mean, I shut down everything early March when it was starting. So there will be challenges because we have to reformulate everything. Personally, I cannot look up to doing another event of 400 people because that will be crazy. So we'll have to see what happens, how we adapt, how people react to what we do, and hopefully, as time develops, we will find there will be a time when it's safe to do so.
Yep.
Because I mean, this has affected everyone, not only locally but globally. So there is a lot of uncertainty, a lot of misinformation. Some people don't want to follow the guidelines because for whatever reason, they just don't take it as serious. And it's crazy times for sure.
Definitely. I would just end with the thought, because I don't want to get too deep into pandemic doom and gloom. But I would just end with the thought, which is we are a community. You know, we only succeed as a community if we stay together. So that means doing the best for others, not for yourself, which is tough, I think, especially as Americans. We are taught to hustle hard for you and your family and to be very individualist, but that doesn't work when something like this happens. So wear your masks and wash your dang hands. But anyway, thank you so much, Cesar, for being on. If you are interested in learning more, I will put a bunch of resources after this goes up with links to the different individuals, the different music playlists, some history stuff that we talked about. So if you want to learn more, that will be in the description on YouTube and for the podcast. If you are local to Salt Lake, or you're going to be in the Salt Lake area at some point in the future, we'll say next year, 2 years from now, whenever all of this calms down a little bit, please do check out Cubania. I'm pronouncing that correct, right? Cubania SLC on both Instagram and Facebook to find out about events, practices, and workshops that Cesar is running. I've been Samantha. I'm your host with Love.Live.Dance. You can find this and all of our previous podcasts at lovelivedance.com/podcast. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Ballroom Chat. And as of last night, and this is nerve-wracking to announce, we have a Patreon. So if you would like to become a patron and support this podcast so that we can have awesome guests from all sorts of different dance communities on, please do consider supporting us there and becoming a patron. You can go to patreon.com/ballroom chat to find out how you can become a supporter. If you have not yet already, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, post a comment, give us a thumbs up, all of those wonderful internet-y, YouTube-y things. We are still trying to get to 100 subscribers on our YouTube channel. That will allow us to have a custom URL, so it'll be easier for folks to find us. So if you have a second and you are not already a subscriber, I would greatly appreciate you doing that. That would mean the world to me. So thank you again for being on.
Thank you, Samantha, for having me. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you guys around.
Yep. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay safe, stay positive, and we hope to see you dancing soon. Hey.